and Yoon-soo was sent to prison for murdering her husband, Lee Ki-dae. But when she was ordered to remove her clothes during the prison inspection, the tattoo covering her back revealed an image of Lee Ki-dae. She had even tattooed a ring bearing his name around her finger. Her love for Lee Ki-dae had been carved deep into her bones. That night, Yoon-soo even removed her underwear before visiting Lee Ki-dae, hoping to give her husband the kind of surprise most men would enjoy. She believed her sincere love would be enough to keep Lee Ki-dae firmly by her side. But when Yoon-soo arrived at his studio, she found a black stocking that was still warm, along with a used condom on the table. Only then did she realize that Lee Ki-dae had betrayed her long ago. Yoon-soo was completely devastated. While Lee Ki-dae was not paying attention, she grabbed a bottle and smashed it against his head. She then pulled out a knife and drove it into his neck. Yoon-soo stabbed Lee Ki-dae dozens of times, spraying blood across the entire room until he lost too much blood and collapsed to the floor. She poured alcohol over Lee Ki-dae's body and the knife, picked the weapon up with a towel, and placed it back where it had been. Then she took out a different knife, smeared some blood on it, and left it nearby. After watching her husband's blood slowly drain away, Yoon-soo did not immediately leave the crime scene. Instead, she called the police.
Don't close your eyes, Ki-dae. Come on. Please open your eyes. I'm begging you.
Today, we are talking about the Korean mystery thriller series The Price of Confession. The police received Yoon-soo's report and quickly arrived at Lee Ki-dae's studio. But as Yoon-soo stood beside her husband's cold body, she appeared remarkably calm. She held a cigarette between her fingers, as though Lee Ki-dae's death meant very little to her. Yoon-soo did not shed a single tear, even at Lee Ki-dae's funeral. In front of the many guests, she continued chatting casually with friends and relatives. When Yoon-soo was taken to the police station for questioning, she wore a bright red coat and looked nothing like a woman whose husband had just died. She even joked with the officers during the formal interrogation.
We start with the relatives. It's just standard procedure. I want to get you off the list of suspects as soon as possible.
Can I say something?
Oh, sure, I'm listening. Go ahead.
It's nothing important, but it's just like those American TV shows. The cops always start with the family.
Although Yoon-soo was the primary suspect, the police still needed evidence before they could charge her. Then the worn black stocking found at Lee Ki-dae's studio gave the investigation a new direction. Yoon-soo told the police that the stocking did not belong to her. It belonged to Oh Seo-won, one of Lee Ki-dae's former students. Oh Seo-won was quickly summoned to the police station. She was young and beautiful and had admired Lee Ki-dae for a long time. Seo-won admitted that she had visited his studio on the day of the murder, but claimed she left by taxi at around 5 o'clock and paid the fare in cash. However, that was not enough to prove her alibi. To understand what had really happened, the police arranged for Yoon-soo and Seo-won to confront each other face to face. But rather than a simple confrontation, it became a psychological battle between the two women.
Why didn't you attend the funeral?
It's because I was scared. I was the only one who went to the studio. Then I heard he died.
Nobody else came by that night, but you went there, even though he told you not to.
Please, I'm telling you, I could never do something like that.
Yoon-soo gradually pushed Seo-won to tears. Fortunately, the taxi driver was eventually found and confirmed that Seo-won had left before 5. Once again, all suspicion fell on Yoon-soo because she was the only person seen at Lee Ki-dae's studio around the time he was killed. Prosecutor Baek Dong-han also began secretly observing Yoon-soo. After returning home, Yoon-soo organized all of Lee Ki-dae's belongings, photographed them, and listed them for sale on a second-hand marketplace. This unusual behavior convinced Baek Dong-han that something was seriously wrong with her. Dong-han returned to Lee Ki-dae's studio, hoping to uncover even the smallest clue. After carefully searching the room, he finally found something. Large amounts of corrosive liquid had been left on the section of floor where Lee Ki-dae's body had lain. The floor itself had been badly damaged, but although the knife believed to be the murder weapon contained traces of blood, it showed no signs of corrosion. Dong-han then discovered another suspicious knife on top of a nearby cabinet. When it was taken back to the station for testing, the blood on it matched Lee Ki-dae's blood from the crime scene. It also contained traces of the corrosive liquid, proving that it was the real murder weapon someone had tried to hide. But why would the killer hide that knife? Dong-hun soon discovered a receipt among the evidence collected by his colleagues. It showed that Yoon-soo had purchased the corrosive liquid. That was not all. After recovering the hard drive from Lee Ki-dae's studio, Dong-hun found a video of Lee Ki-dae arguing with Yoon-soo before his death. Lee Ki-dae wanted them to have a second child, but Yoon-soo refused on the spot and even pulled out a pair of scissors to force him to stop talking. The investigation also uncovered every detail of Yoon-soo's childhood. She had grown up in an orphanage. When Yoon-soo was 12, she pushed another girl down a staircase and fractured the girl's lower leg. And the reason was simply that Yoon-soo hated the girl's smile. Every piece of evidence now formed a perfect chain. A wife with a violent and antisocial personality discovered that her husband was cheating, stabbed him to death, and then calmly called the police. As time passed, the suspicion surrounding Yoon-soo only grew stronger.
I didn't want her to become a suspect.
Then how would you explain this sketch? The truth, okay? There's no surveillance footage, no witness who can back you up here. You just made it up.
Meanwhile, senior officials were facing intense public criticism over a major fraud case involving a wealthy suspect. They wanted Baek Dong-hun to close Yoon-soo's case as quickly as possible, create a media spectacle, and shift public attention away from the fraud scandal. By increasing the pressure through the media, they hoped Yoon-soo would eventually confess. Before long, a scandal involving Yoon-soo appeared on television. The media exaggerated every detail and portrayed her as a cold and vicious woman. With the power of the internet, the story rapidly spread throughout society. People condemned Yoon-soo and claimed she was unfit to be a teacher. Even Yoon-soo's own lawyer appeared to stop believing her. Faced with so much evidence, Yoon-soo was close to breaking down. The truth was that Yoon-soo had gone to Lee Ki-dae's studio that night to visit him. She had even removed her underwear to surprise her husband. But before Yoon-soo could get out of her car, she noticed a figure dressed in black standing ahead of her. When she saw the figure looking in her direction, Yoon-soo became frightened and quickly ducked down. After the figure left, Yoon-soo entered Lee Ki-dae's studio and discovered that he had already been killed. Yoon-soo truly had not murdered Lee Ki-dae. She had simply been the first person to discover his body. But by then, it was already too late. In everyone's eyes, Yoon-soo had become a murderer. At that same moment, two more bodies were discovered inside a luxurious mansion. A young woman named Im-oh-eun was sitting in front of them. Im-oh-eun watched the television coverage of Yoon-soo's arrest with cold eyes, then turned and sat on the sofa, wanting to see Yoon-soo's expression as she was falsely accused. Im-oh-eun calmly removed the wig from her head. Beneath it was a delicate face carrying an unsettling chill. What Im-oh-eun did not know was that the mansion had already been surrounded by police. The officers soon broke through the door. Im-oh-eun dropped the weapon in her hand, as though she had known this moment was coming.
Dental assistant for their clinic for a year. And the whole time they were entitled like it was second nature. They called me to their house and ordered me around like I was their maid. It was their birthday, so why was I the one cooking and serving?
Im-oh-eun claimed that she could no longer endure the pressure and mistreatment from her employers, so she placed a deadly poison in their food. But the explanation seemed far too weak. Im-oh-eun could have simply left the job if she hated it so much. Why would she poison both the husband and wife? Even more disturbing, the officers discovered that none of Im-oh-eun's 10 fingers had fingerprints.
Your fingerprints. What happened to them?
It was from handling chemicals at the clinic last year.
So that's why you've been keeping them that way?
I guess prints can be useful to you cops. I don't need them though.
Im-oh-eun's calmness sent a chill through everyone in the room. She looked nothing like a young woman who had just killed 2 people. To understand what Im-oh-eun was thinking, the police brought in a psychologist that same night to conduct a mental evaluation. But even in front of the psychologist, Im-oh-eun's answers remained precise and completely free of contradictions. The psychologist showed Im-oh-eun photographs of the murdered couple, hoping to provoke an emotional response. Instead, Im-oh-eun immediately began questioning the psychologist.
Are we doing psychopath testing? Doctor, do I look like a psychopath to you?
Her answers left even the officers watching outside completely speechless. The brutal double murder committed by Im quickly shocked the entire country. Large crowds of reporters gathered outside the police station, all desperate to report on a murder case that appeared to have no logical motive.
알겠지만 니네 엄마 아빠는 그렇게 좋은 사람이 아니었어. 부모 잘못 만난 죄야. 너도 그 벌을 받는 거고.
Im-Aoun's answers had clearly humiliated everyone present. While Im-Aoun was being transported to prison, another tragedy was already unfolding inside those cold walls. Yoon-soo, a defenseless woman accused of killing Lee Ki-dae, had been sent to prison. She spent every day in tears, but the other inmates showed no sympathy for her. Many mocked Yoon-soo and claimed she would not survive 3 months. Some even took advantage of her weakness to bully her. Just as they predicted, Yoon-soo soon tried to end her life by repeatedly striking her head against the wall. Fortunately, the other inmates alerted the guards, and Yoon-soo was quickly taken to the medical unit. But while being escorted through the prison corridor, Yoon-soo crossed paths with Im-Aoun, who had just arrived. At that moment, the gears of fate quietly began to turn. On Im-Aoun's first day in the cell, the prison bully and the other inmates saw her delicate appearance and decided to teach her a lesson.
You murdered someone with that face and those chopstick arms. So how'd you do it?
My arms are skinny, but they're strong enough to poison their food. They were writhing, their organs burning from the inside out. That's how I killed them.
The bully assumed Im-Aoun was only pretending to be intimidating. She flipped over the table and began beating her. At first, Im-Aoun had no interest in fighting back. No matter how hard the bully hit her, Im-Aoun continued to endure it. But then the bully suddenly said something.
So much goddamn attitude from someone who ain't
The moment Im-Aoun heard those words, she could no longer tolerate it. She grabbed a pencil from the floor, spun around, and pressed it directly against the bully's neck. Fortunately, another inmate activated the alarm, stopping the confrontation before someone was killed. Because of the fight, Im-Aoun was sent to solitary confinement, but that was exactly what she wanted. The moment the guard walked away, Im-Aoun began shouting and causing a scene. She claimed she was terrified of spiders and demanded a room without them. Unable to tolerate her behavior any longer, the guard moved Im-Aoun into a cleaner cell. Im-Aoun sat down facing the wall, and her emotions immediately became calm again. When a spider crawled toward her, she gently picked it up and began playing with it. Her claim that she was afraid of spiders had clearly been a lie. Before entering prison, Im-Aoun had been closely following every news report about Yoon-soo. She knew Yoon-soo was being held inside this prison, which was why she had done everything leading up to her arrest. Im-Aoun also knew the exact cell where Yoon-soo was being held. That was why she deliberately caused the fight and demanded to be moved. Her true goal was to get close to Yoon-soo.
I saw you on the news. Please believe you. I didn't kill him. Please believe me.
Who are you?
The angel who will get you out of here. Your husband. I'll confess to killing him. Admitting to more murder. But not for free, of course. There's something I need you to do for me, too.
Im-Aoun spoke directly to what Yoon-soo wanted most, and the two women reached an unspoken agreement. 1 week later, Im-Aoun's trial for murdering the dentist and his wife officially began. Inside the prison, Yoon-soo followed the case through the newspaper. She did not know whether Im-Aoun was telling the truth, but if Yoon-soo wanted to clear her name, she had no choice but to trust her. In court, Im-Aoun admitted without hesitation that she had killed the dentist and his wife. Just as the case was about to be finalized, Im-Aoun suddenly dropped another bombshell that left everyone in the courtroom stunned.
Well, Your Honor, there's another murder that I'm responsible for.
Order! Miss Mo, would you repeat that? Did you say another murder?
Im-Aoun's answer even shocked the judge, and the courtroom immediately descended into chaos. Her sudden change in testimony became the center of attention and pushed the case back to the peak of public controversy.
감옥에 오니까 날 대신에 잡혀온 사람이 있더라고요. 내가 한 건데 다른 사람이 했다는 거 싫었어요.
Inside the prison, Yoon-soo and the other inmates were left speechless by Im-Aoun's words. They never imagined that Imo-un would truly follow through. As heavy rain began falling from the sky, the suspicion surrounding Yinsu was finally cleared. Imo-un was then transported back to prison. Standing in the rain, she wore a black raincoat. Only then did Yinsu suddenly realize that the figure dressed in black she had seen that night looked exactly like Imo-un. But none of that seemed important anymore because the agreement between Yinsu and Imo-un had already taken effect. Imo-un danced gracefully in the rain, as though she had finally freed herself from something. She looked at the completely bewildered Yinsu standing before her.
Now, it's time for you to return the favor.